Hey everybody, welcome back to Money and Politics. Hope you had a great weekend. We are going to be going over a number of things today, talking about some of the stocks that we've talked of lately, but also following up with at least one of the stocks that we haven't touched on for quite some time. And it's getting a little chilly. Hope you are going to be having a great Thanksgiving coming up. I will be going out of town, probably going to St. Louis, and I'll be not producing any videos Thursday, Friday, probably for that weekend. But then I hope you're not watching the market then. I hope you're with your family and maybe watching a football game. And wherever you go, I hope you have safe travels. That said, I can't remember right now if I talked about Humbl the other day when it shot up from 41 cents to 59 cents, I think it was. I'm just going from memory. Well, let's take a quick look on Humbl. And obviously the news there was, as we go down, that George Sharp is returning Humbl as a capital markets advisor with the idea that Humbl is going to be moving up within the OTC to a higher level, and that down the road they are, as we have long anticipated, that they will be going to the NASDAQ. Now, the NASDAQ's going to take a while. I don't want you to get all excited. I'm not saying they're going to the NASDAQ right away. It might take a year, and we don't know how long because they got to get their stock price up. And for that to happen, we're going to have revenues. The one thing I would say that we should be paying attention to, and what I had told you, is that Humbl is not a static company like a Coca-Cola is, where it just kind of sits there bloated and doesn't do anything. Humbl is a very dynamic company. And when we get these stock price movements, where it just seems to go down and down and down, and everyone gets bummed out, the thing to remember, as what we saw the other day with this, the stock shooting up, is that almost any kind of good news can really move this stock. So when it got down to 41 cents the other day, that was really just an oversold market in my estimation. That's why we got the the jump up. Now, the other thing, we see that the stock markets, plural, were mixed today, with the S&P down slightly, the Dow up slightly, and the NASDAQ and Russell were both down. When we are dealing with our portfolios, we want to have a mix. And here we have DIG, which has been down of late, but it was up today. And it's kind of confounding that it was down of late. Let me go to a 1 month chart. You can see how choppy that has been. The more that the Biden administration tries to clamp down on fossil fuels, the more that is going to drive up the price of oil and natural gas, and that actually, ironically, would be good for some of these stocks because it's going to mean that there's going to be less supply on the market. What brought the price down was during the Trump administration, was we had so much of the fracking going on that produced a bucket load, a gusher of oil and natural gas. That actually was starting under the Obama administration, although not due to Obama policies, but that explosion in natural gas did start under them. Now, one of the stocks that I did talk about earlier in the year, and because, by the way, there's not much new to be talking about with Humbl for the moment, let me just, before I leave that topic, say that it could move dynamically, as I said, and we're going to get, as I said before, the revenues coming out for the fourth quarter, probably around Valentine's Day, and the way these years fly by, that'll be here before we know it. Let's take a look, though, at something that was some breaking news coming out today on it. If you remember HITI, and this is the marijuana, it's a Canadian company, it was marijuana, and you can see this is the one-day chart where it actually had a pretty good day, up close to 11% on 458,000 shares, which was twice the average number. And if you say why, well, when you go down, this company has been looking to buy, and they did buy, the Chicago, or Colorado rather, based CBD, Charlie Boy David, the CBD oils. And so that is one thing that I wanted to bring to your attention. Also, let me remove myself and let's look at their revenues numbers. You can see, now this is 2020, and you can see how the green revenue numbers have been going up precipitously. Last year to $82 million, and you also see how their losses in 2020, this is the 2019, they lost 26.3 million, and last year they lost 6 million. Now, we haven't talked a lot about it, and if you look at the one-year chart, or year-to-date, the stock really hasn't done a lot. It's gone up from the beginning of the year, but it's basically been a kind of a do-nothing. But here's what's interesting. Let's look at the financials on this company. And when we look at HITI, and by the way, folks, am I recommending you buy this? I'm recommending you put it on your watch list. I'm recommending that you pay attention to it, because this could be a stock. And one way you might play this, you could go ahead and take a small position in this. And again, where I say the Humbl players are like penny stocks and low-priced stocks, this is still a low-priced stock, relatively speaking. But look at the revenues. They end their year ends on Halloween, October 31st. So in 2018, they had revenues of 8.7 million, which then in 2019 went to 31.3 million. And then to 2020, from 31 million, they went up to 83.3 million, a huge move. And now in the trailing 12 months, they are close to a double again, to $152 million. Now, that's not necessarily profit, that is revenue. In fact, it isn't profit. And their costs have also gone up. If you look at their gross profits have gone up, but their operating expenses have gone up. So it's not necessarily at this point appearing in the bottom line, but it is something where their revenues are exploding. And they did, as we just reported, grow by buying a CBD oil company. So I am not a druggie. I am not a user of marijuana. It's not my thing, but it is something that is obviously becoming increasingly liberalized in the United States and in other parts of the world. So their potential market share is going to be going up. And on this, and I'm trying to remember where I put it, Investopedia, which is kind of like one of the family of the Wikipedia, if we look at their article that came out just recently, the top marijuana stocks for November of 2021, this came out October 20th, I think that is. But they talk about who is the better value, and the number one stock they have here is HITI again, and the symbol is HITI. And this is where they're saying that the marijuana stocks with the lowest 12-month trailing price-to-sales ratio, and for companies in the early stages of development or injuries suffering from major shocks, that this can be substituted as a rough measure of a business's value. And the business with the higher sales could eventually produce more profit when it achieves, when it returns rather, the profitability. So the price to sales ratio, where you take the price divided by sales, shows how much you're paying for the stock for each dollar of sales generated. The lower the number, the better. And as you see here, of those stocks that they have listed, of the best values, HITI, HITI is number one with a price to sales ratio of 1.8. So, given all that, I would say that high tide is something that you might want to put on your watch list, or you may want to go ahead and take a small position if you want to tie up a little bit of money that you can afford to tie up for a while. Their end of year was October 31st, so we should be getting their end of year earnings report coming out in the near future. And that might be something that is, possibility of moving the share price. You have now $6.74, again, up 66 cents today. Let's just quickly look at a 5-day chart so you can see where this has fallen down. But that if we go back to just a week ago or so, we were at 750. So this came down recently. Let's go to the 1-month chart, and you can see how this has had a recent high and had been building for the better part of a month. Had a recent high of about $7.84. So that would still be from here another $2 move, or about not quite a 30% move, but certainly a good move. Let me go out to the 6-month chart. You can see the choppiness, and year to date, nothing to write home about. But what we do see that in the last month, there has been more enthusiasm for high tide. Again, 458,000 shares traded today. So with that, I won't go real longer. It's kind of a let's take tabs on things, and I want to keep you up to date. Let me just quickly look aside at some of the others. Tesla continued to grow. I posted about that on Twitter today. Don't forget, and this is why I did this, you can buy, at least on Schwab, and I'm not sure about some of the other platforms, you can buy fractional shares. So where Tesla is currently $1,156 a share, and that was up close to $20 today for a 6.5%. Whoops. Why did that jump on me? Anyway, Tesla was up 19.8% today. On a percentage basis, that was 1.74%. But anyway, you can buy fractional shares, and this is where the other day, rather than putting out over $1,000 for one share, I bought a fraction of a share. I bought 0.228, I think it was. So just under a quarter of a share. But that was on the 17th of November. I have, as of now, a gain of $14.50, which is close to 6%, 5.8. It was actually up even higher earlier in the day. And so the point is not that I'm pounding the table for Tesla. I'm kind of saying, because a lot of you, and understandably so, not many people can afford to go out and put down $1,000, but you may want to participate in the growth of some of these higher priced companies. And this is a way you can do it by buying these fractional shares. So you want to buy, and you can afford to buy the $6.75 stock. You can afford to buy, Humbl, which is currently trading at 59 cents? Let me look over and verify that again. 50, we'll call it 54 cents. And you can go out and buy a whole boatload. And by the way, I meant to bring up forwardly, since George Sharp is coming back to work with Humbl some. Forwardly went up slightly today, but if we look at the 5-day chart, obviously they had the jump from the other day. It has not been a big mover. What you do notice here over a month is they've kind of stabilized in this one area until the recent downturn. If we go to the whole year to date, you can see the high in the beginning of the year. Same reason Humbl went up. that forwardly went up. And however, again, look how it's been reasonably stable since for close to the last 5 to 6 months here. But yes, you can go out and buy a whole boatload of these, but the point of me bringing up you buying companies like Tesla and TTD, which is now about $100 a share, or whether it's Facebook or some of the others that are measured in hundreds of dollars per share, buy a fractional share so that it's the same thing as just owning a full share. Your money's going to go up on a percentage basis. And now that we have these companies where they're not charging you $10 for a transaction, it makes sense to go ahead and invest in some of those marginal shares. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention too. One last thing, go ahead and write to me if you wish. I'll try to answer all of your questions. Please subscribe and comment. You can do the comments on YouTube. I read those. You can also ask me to comment privately by writing me, and you can follow me on Twitter, where I do, as I did today, occasionally make some comments there. So that's basically our report for today, folks. Let's hope that I think we're going to have a pretty good 2022. I don't know about the overall market. We got some balancing things. I meant to say, not to go too long here, but Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve Board, was reappointed, I should say, to be the chairman of the Federal Reserve for another term, and so that gave the market some comfort because he's a known quantity. The other thing, it means that they may be rising interest rates. I think Jerome Powell did not want to raise interest rates as the president was questioning whether he would reappoint him to another term. This is one of the few things that Biden has done that Trump did. Trump appointed Jerome Powell to the Federal Reserve chairmanship, and now Biden decided to keep him in that position. But that also means that now that Powell knows he's got another term ahead of him, he's going to feel a little more comfortable about starting to raise interest rates, which no one likes to have higher interest rates. But in this case, we need to do that. We need to tap the brakes on the growing inflation, because we don't want inflation to get a runaway inflation as we had close to happen back around 1979, 1980, and that now is a fear with all the money that's been put into the U.S. economy by the Fed over the last, close to 2 years, a record amount of money. So that's it. Folks, have a wonderful evening. I will try to keep tabs on things that are going on throughout the week. I'll do a report. Tonight's Monday. We'll do a report Tuesday, maybe Wednesday night. And then after Wednesday night, I probably won't talk to you again until the following Monday would be my guess. But have a great night. Be safe wherever you're traveling. If you're taking off for the rest of the week, have a great Thanksgiving with your family. And folks, we will see you again soon. Take care.